𝚴𝚚𝚏. We all know it as a slice of life anime that's joyous and full of passion for music. It's one part of music making and performing, but the other side we almost never see in anime. Bocchi The Rock does. Bocchi The Rock shows what happens when a socially awkward person tries to be part of a band and perform on stage. Needless to say, it's quite a struggle to overcome. It's obvious that I'm an introvert myself. I mean, I'm a weeb, so I could really relate to what Bocchi feels like. Besides that, there are a lot of more relatable things for musicians in general that came up even in just the first episode. A good example is this.
で、学校でバンド組んで 𝙴𝚚𝚎𝚗𝚝 なんで突然英語?
Or the fact that they nailed the look of a practice room, or the way that we all say we screwed up after a performance like the drummer here. Compared to 𝚴𝚏𝚏, this show fully revolves around music. In 𝚴𝚏𝚏, you see that the show mainly revolves around 1. Slice of life, and 2 time, and 2. Music. The problem with 𝚴𝚏𝚏 is that it sacrifices the realism for the slice of life. For example, they want to practice on vacation, so they magically have a practice room near the beach, and they're having a beach episode. Now, after the beach episode, they realized that they did almost nothing practicing. It was just blatant that they wanted to have some fan service, and you know, I can appreciate that, but that is not what BTR does. Sure, you can say that the show is a bit of a slice of life, and I would agree. But Bocchi The Rock doesn't go off and do some random stuff no one asked for, or at least not with the excuse of making music and practicing there. It's always within a reasonable range of the narrative, and that's not the only thing. In 𝚴𝚏𝚏, it seems like being on stage is natural and it's no big deal. And there are people like that, but I like that in this one there's at least one person that has some kind of stage fright, and just that not everything is gonna go right on a stage. This was shown in episode 8. Me as a musician cringed from when they started the first song till the end of the first song, cause man, they fucked everything up. But in the same way, how Bocchi deals with this failure and pushes on by shredding the shit out of the intro in the second song is very human and musician-like, and you start to root for her when it happens. I also feel like Bocchi takes the music scene way more serious than 𝚴𝚏𝚏 does. I think it's mostly because 𝚴𝚏𝚏 was in a school band setting, which dumbs everything down a bit. But yeah, no, in Bocchi it's an actual business. For example, they explain in episode 1 that they are technically a restaurant because it's easier to get a license for that. Or that you have to sell a certain quota for tickets. I also love that there are actual lessons you are able to learn out of the show. Like in episode 2, Bocchi learns what it means to perform. To as performance unite the crowd and the band into one and create a vibe. Something like that is actually important to learn, and for a musician to be able to express your true self on stage is a big step towards that. Now, she didn't really learn that last part in that episode. That is something she learns by a drunk bass player in episode 6, but that's something you'll have to see yourself. Besides that, I like that they actually put effort into not making the song sound like typical moe cutesy high-pitched rock like in 𝚴𝚏𝚏. Compared to cute moe rock, this actually sounds and feels like actual J-rock that I would listen to. In fact, for the past few weeks I've been listening to it, and no offense to the people who like songs like 𝚴𝚏𝚏 Time, but full offense meant. As for the music and who made it in real life, most of the songs were arranged by Ritsuo Mitsui, a guitarist that plays in multiple bands. I'll list them here. And Ai Higuchi wrote most of the lyrics. She's also known for singing the Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2 ending theme. There were a lot of different composers involved in the single, so I'll just list a couple of them. Otoha, Masamichi Nagai, Kayoko Kusano, and Maguro Taniguchi from Kanabun. If you know these people, I can assure you, the music in the show is just great, and one, if not the biggest reasons to go see it. Not only the music is splendid, I also love the cinematic shots when performing. I am gonna dissect the solo clip a bit. So, shot from pedal getting clicked going over to Bocchi playing the guitar. Everyone looking at her a bit confused, but the guitar is still in shot. For a moment it isn't, but then immediately goes over to a sick shot of Bocchi strumming. You're just looking at that clip and you feel like you're looking at an actual guitar being played. The amount of detail they put in and the passion of Bocchi is just infectious. That's super difficult to do, and it's mind-blowing to see something like that on screen. Something like that you don't really get from 𝚴𝚗. Don't get me wrong, there's one thing I think 𝚴𝚗 does better. Showing the fun of playing with friends and playing music. I mean, one of my classmates was inspired by 𝚴𝚗 to start playing bass, and he's an amazing bass player by the way. But the rest that 𝚴𝚗 tried to do was just inferior to Bocchi. There's a lot more to say about the show, but let's get the first episode out of the way first. Bocchi was the quiet kid in school and never was friends with anyone. So, when she saw an introverted guitarist on TV saying that they were also an introvert, but that in a band it doesn't really matter, that's when she started picking up a guitar with the dream of going on stage to express herself. And this is actually a bit of a representation of most artists. Makingthemark.blogspot.com did a poll in April 2012 where 61% of artists that took the poll were introverts. Now, take that with a grain of salt, since polls can be rigged and influenced to get a better results. But believe it or not, people like Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, Kurt Cobain, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, I could go on, we're all introverts. Now, 3 years after she picked up the guitar is where the story begins. Her dream of being in a band is nowhere close to being realized. She has tried in her indirect ways to make people talk to her about music. Some like bringing a couple CDs to school, some like playing her new favorite death metal bands in the class. Yeah, those didn't work. She did improve on her playing though. She learned how to use audio software and also has... Wait, is that a Scarlett 2i2? And most importantly, she has a YouTube channel making covers. 29,927 more than me. Oh, by the way, please help me get to 100. I really want to get rid of this profile picture. Anyway, as a last-ditch attempt, she brings her guitar to school, which didn't really help her get into a band. Not at school, at least. She goes to this play park thingy, where she's all deepry and stuff about not finding anyone. Then this girl named Nijika Ishiji invites our protagonist Hitori Goto, aka Bocchi, to stand in for a band member that split just moments before the repetition. Of course, because she's socially awkward, she can't say no, which makes her get dragged along to the practice room, where she learns that she has a lot to learn to play good in the band instead of playing solo. And that makes sense. Being good at your instrument isn't everything for a band. It's to be synchronized and support each other while playing. If you look at the first song in episode 8, that's exactly what they didn't do. Then she gets thrown a curveball and needs to get on stage at Starry, which is actually a real place in Japan. For copyright reasons, they changed the name from Shelter to Starry, but it is a real place in Setagaya, Tokyo, and they even have a sign and everything. The manga author actually even interviewed them to understand the ins and outs of the industry more. I checked their main site and they have a band playing every day, so if you're in the area, it might be fun to go. Anyway, she performs there where she's so scared and shy that she plays inside of a cardboard box. Honestly, if I was one of the bandmates, I would fucking shove her out because damn, that is a low I would not be able to play with. Of course, that's not what happens, because the other band members support her and try to help her overcome her social awkwardness and stage fright. Now, you can see that she does improve bit by bit. For example, in episode 2, where she awkwardly gives the customer tea, she kinda makes me think of Kobani here. In this one season, 2 volumes of the manga were adapted, and there are 5 volumes out as of filming, so it's pretty likely we'll get a season 2 in the future. I really appreciate how much effort has gone into the animation, music, humor, and storyboarding of the show, and the outcome has been amazing. Honestly, such a great show and a rock anime done right. Hope you liked this video, and I hope this video makes me get rid of this horrid profile picture. No, seriously, I want it gone. See ya!